At all then, my adopted brother framed me for stealing $50,000. My parents, they didn't just believe him, they called the cops. I still remember the silence in my father's home office. It was a heavy, expensive silence, thick with the smell of old books and his leather chair. My parents, Mark and Susan, just stared at the open family safe, empty. My adopted brother, Jackson, stood in the corner, the picture of concern. Then, my father held up the small bag of pills they'd found in my desk drawer. His voice was quiet. That's what scared me the most. "Arya," he said, "how could you? I need to back up. You need to understand the layout of the board before you can understand the checkmate. Our family wasn't a family, it was a corporation. Mark and Susan were the CEOs. They ran a successful local consultancy, and their entire identity was built on the perfect family. Jackson, their biological son, was the heir apparent, the golden child. He had our father's smile and our mother's charisma. He was destined to take over the business. And in their eyes, he could do no wrong. And then there was me. I was adopted at 7. I wasn't the heir, I was the project. I was the proof of their generosity. The living, breathing entry in their charity ledger. And I worked so hard to be worth the investment. I got the straight A's. I captained the debate team. I even learned how to manage the books for their business, which is how I knew the safe combination. I was the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who never made waves. I was also the only one who saw the cruelty in Jackson. To everyone else, he was charming. To me, he was a different person. He'd accidentally break things and let me take the blame. He'd whisper things to me when our parents were out of earshot. "You know they only keep you around because it makes them look good. Right, you're just the help." I never told them. How could I? It would sound like jealousy. I just focused on my future. Hijo de fiancé. Levi. We'd been together since high school, and he was my escape hatch. He was the only person who saw me, not the project. We were planning to move into a small apartment after freshman year of college. That was my life. Right up until the moment Mark called me into the office. The scene comes back in flashes. The open safe, the baggie of pills on the desk. I don't know what that is. I whispered. My voice sounded thin. "Arya, stop." "Susan," my mother said. Her voice was already breaking. "We know. Jackson told us he was worried about you." I turned to Jackson. He looked at the floor, shaking his head like he was heartbroken. "Arya, I saw you. You've been acting so strange lately. Always needing money." I didn't want to believe it. It was a lie. A sloppy, terrible lie. But it was the lie they needed. "I don't do drugs," I pleaded, looking at Mark. "Dad, you know me." "I thought I did," he said, his face like stone. "You're an addict. And you're a thief." "Check the cameras," I screamed. My composure was finally cracking. "Check the cameras on the porch." Jackson looked up, and his eyes were so sad. The power was out. "Arya, remember the storm last night? The cameras were down, and my blood went cold. It was perfect. A perfect, airtight frame-up. The storm had knocked the power out, and he knew I was the only other person with a combination. The son they adored, or the adopted daughter they always had to manage. It was never a fair fight. Susan was crying now. "How could you do this to us after everything we've given you?" Everything they'd given me, like I was a line item. Mark picked up the office phone. His hand was shaking. But not from doubt. From rage. Dad, please." I begged. "Please don't." He didn't look at me. He just dialed. "Yes. I need to report a theft. It's my daughter." I spent the next 8 hours in a holding cell. The charge was felony theft. I sat on a metal bench, the smell of bleach and stale urine burning my nose. And I just dissociated, blanked out. I stared at a crack in the concrete wall and traced it with my eyes for hours. Felt like my brain just shut down to protect itself. In the end, there was no proof. Nothing solid. No fingerprints. No video evidence. The whole drug motive they tried to push was flimsy as hell. They released me for lack of evidence. Note innocent. Just not enough proof to convict. But the damage was done. That arrest, it was on my record now. Forever. My parents were waiting for me in the lobby. Not to hug me. Not to say they were sorry. Susan stepped forward, her face hard, and pushed a duffel bag at my chest. It was my old gym bag. Inside a few t-shirts. 2 pairs of jeans. My toothbrush. That was it. My whole life reduced to a worn-out bag. "You're not welcome in our home, Arya," she said. Her eyes were red, but dry now. She was done crying about it. "Mom." My voice cracked. "Don't." Mark cut in, stepping beside her like a bodyguard. His voice was final, cold. "You embarrassed this family. You're done. Don't call us again." I stood there on the curb, watching them drive away in their shiny Mercedes. They didn't even look back in the rearview mirror. Just gone. I felt numb, like I was watching a movie about someone else. I walked to a payphone. Yeah, a payphone. That tells you how long ago this was. My hands were shaking so bad, I could barely dial the number. Levi. He would believe me. He had to. He knew me. He answered on the 4th ring. "Arya." He sounded hesitant. "Levi." I sobbed, the words finally tearing out of me. Hot and sharp. "They kicked me out. They think I stole it." Jackson lied. He framed me. You have to believe me." There was just silence on the other end. A long, crackling silence. Just static. "Levi," I whispered. "Please. I can't." "Arya." He finally whispered back. His voice was thin. Scared. "My parents? They know your dad. They heard about the arrest. They said I can't be with someone like you. A thief? An addict?" "But it's not true," I screamed into the phone, not caring who heard. "I love you. You know me. How could you believe them?" "I'm sorry," he said, and his voice broke. I can't lose my family over this. I'm sorry." Then he hung up. Click. I stood there, holding the dead receiver against my ear, listening to the dial tone buzz. Like an alarm, I couldn't turn off. 24 hours. In just 24 hours, I had lost my family, my home, my reputation, my college plans, my future. And the only person I thought truly loved me. I had $400 in my savings account, and a full tank of gas in my beat-up old car. I got in, and I drove. Didn't have a plan, didn't have a map, just drove south. Away, until the signs started looking unfamiliar. The town smaller and sadder. For the first 2 days, I slept in my car at brightly lit 24-hour rest stops, curled up in the back seat, jumping at every knock, every pair of headlights, every person who walked by. I became a digital ghost. I tried to get a job at a coffee shop in some small town. The manager seemed nice at first. Then she ran my background check. "Sorry," she said, her eyes suddenly cold. "Suspicious. We can't hire you." The same thing happened at a bookstore and a grocery store. That arrest, even without a conviction, was like a brand burned onto my forehead. Thief, addict, unreliable. I burned through my $400 fast. Gas, vending machine chips, peanut butter crackers. I remember washing my hair in a gas station bathroom sink, using the cheap pink soap from the dispenser, staring at my reflection in the cracked mirror above. My face was gaunt. My eyes looked haunted. I was 18 years old, and I was utterly, completely alone in the world. Erased. Re-AI Jem Tway Chin. I was in a strip mall parking lot somewhere in a state I didn't recognize. Freezing. Watching my breath fog up the windshield like a ghost. I hadn't eaten in, I don't know, maybe a full day. I was so tired. Bone tired. The kind of tired that whispers maybe it's okay to just close your eyes. Stop fighting. Then I saw it. Just a crumpled piece of paper, taped crookedly to the glass door of a rundown office at the dark end of the plaza. Handwritten. Help wanted. What did I have to lose? Absolutely nothing. I pushed the car door open. My legs stiff from sitting for so long. Walked towards it. The office looked like it hadn't seen a customer in years. I pushed the door open. Inside, it smelled like dust and old electronics. It was a graveyard of old computers. Towers piled up, monitors stacked precariously, wires snaked everywhere. Server racks with little blinking green lights hummed faintly in the back corner. An older man was asleep at his desk, his head, actually, resting on the keyboard. Cheek smooshed against the keys. I cleared my throat softly. "Excuse me." He jolted awake with a snort, looking around wildly for a second before his eyes focused on me. They were confused. He had a gray beard, kind of messy, and the saddest eyes I'd ever seen. "Huh, what can I help you?" His voice was gravelly, like he hadn't used it much. I saw the sign," I stammered, pointing a shaky finger towards the door. My voice felt weak. "The help wanted sign. I can clean. I can answer phones. Really? I'll do anything." He looked me over. Really looked. He saw my wrinkled clothes. Probably smelled the gas station soap I'd used. He saw the desperation plain as day on my face. He didn't ask for my name. Didn't ask where I came from. Didn't ask for a resume. He just grunted. "Ever built a website?" "No." "Essie," I whispered. My heart sank. "Of course not." He sighed. "A long, rattling sound that seemed to come from deep in his chest." He nodded towards the back. "Towards the humming server racks. There's a cot in the server room. It's warm back there. You can answer the phones when they ring, which ain't often." He paused. "I'll pay you in a roof and coffee. Can't afford much else right now." I nearly collapsed right there. A roof, warmth, coffee. It felt like winning the lottery. "Thank you," I whispered. Tears I didn't know I had left stinging my eyes. "Thank you so much." His name was Gregory. His small web dev agency, Digital Solutions, was failing. He was, I learned later, a brilliant old-school coder, a real wizard with server logic back in the day, but a terrible businessman. His few remaining clients were all paying late, or just not paying at all. For the first 2 weeks, that's all I did. Answered the phone maybe twice a day, cleaned the dust off monitors that hadn't been touched in years, made coffee. At night, I slept on that cot in the server room. The constant, low hum of the servers vibrated right through the thin mattress. Weirdly, it was comforting, like a heartbeat in the dark. It was the safest I'd felt since before the intervention. But I couldn't just sleep. My brain wouldn't shut off. So, I started reading. Gregory had a whole bookshelf crammed with old coding manuals. Thick, heavy books with titles like Learning HTML and CSS, The Definitive Guide, and JavaScript Patterns. I read them like they were novels, staying up late under the dim glow of the server lights, trying to understand this secret language. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I pulled up the code for one of his oldest clients' websites. It was a disaster. Like digital spaghetti. Looked like something from 1998. I stayed up all night, fueled by stale coffee and sheer stubbornness. I rebuilt it, from scratch, using the things I'd been reading, made it clean, modern, simple. When Gregory shuffled in the next morning, clutching his usual chipped mug, he stopped dead in front of my screen. He just stared, for like a solid 5 minutes. Didn't say a word. "You did this?" he finally asked. His voice low. My stomach plummeted. "Oh God." I'd overstepped. "I'm sorry." I said, panicking, shrinking back in my chair. I thought I could maybe fix it. Make it better. I'm sorry. I'll put it back. He turned to me, and for the very first time, I saw him really smile. A genuine, surprised smile that crinkled the corners of his sad eyes. It's good, kid, he said, sounding amazed. It's really good. That was the day my new life actually started. Gregory started teaching me everything. He taught me PHP, database management, server-side logic, things the books didn't cover. He'd grunt instructions, point at the screen, and let me figure it out. And I did. I soaked it up like a sponge. It turned out, my brain liked this. It liked the logic, the problem solving, the way you could build something real out of nothing but text on a screen. For the first time since I was 7 years old, I wasn't just trying to be something for someone else, the perfect daughter, the good student. I was building something for me. I started keeping a ledger again, not in a business book, just a cheap spiral notebook. Not for money, but for every small success, every line of code that finally worked after hours of frustration, every client who called back, actually happy for once. Every time Gregory looked over my shoulder and grunted, "Good job, kid." Each one was a tiny brick, rebuilding me from the ground up. 2 years flew by like that. I wasn't the kid on the cot anymore. I was 20. I was Gregory's partner. We weren't digital solutions anymore. We were Apex Digital. We were actually making money. We'd even moved into a slightly better office space down the street. Things were stable, but I was still haunted. Not by the past events. Exactly. I'd walled those off. But by the why. Why was it so easy for them? Why didn't they even hesitate? Why didn't anyone believe me? I started going to a free clinic downtown, talking to a therapist once a week. It was hard, talking about the adoption, the feeling of being a project, the constant pressure to be perfect. Jackson, the golden child, the intervention, the arrest, Levi, all of it. She listened patiently, didn't judge, didn't offer easy answers. And then, one session, she gave me a name for it, a concept. I remember going back to my small apartment that night and writing it down in my journal. I learned a term today. I wrote, the identified patient. She explained it. In some dysfunctional families, one person is unconsciously chosen to carry all the problems, to be the focus of all the blame, all the anxiety, the problem child, the scapegoat. And it hit me like a physical blow. I was the adopted one, the outsider from the start. Jackson was the golden child, the biological heir, the one who could do no wrong. When $50,000 went missing, their family system, their whole perfect narrative, it couldn't handle blaming the golden child. That would break their world. It had to blame me. It was the only way for their story to make sense to them. Jackson didn't just frame me out of panic or greed. He instinctively exploited a role my parents, Mark and Susan, had already cast me in years ago, without even realizing it. I wasn't just a daughter they loved. I was a variable they had to manage. A potential source of disruption to their perfect image. I was a release valve. That realization was cold, bitter. It didn't magically make the pain go away. Not at all. But it freed me, in a strange way. It wasn't about me. Not really. It wasn't my fault. It was never my fault. It was their broken system. The very next day, I went down to the courthouse. I filed the paperwork to legally change my last name. Arya wasn't their project anymore. She was just Arya, building her own world. One line of code at a time. 12 years. 12 years went by like a dream. Or maybe more like waking up from a long, slow nightmare. I was 30. Gregory had retired a few years back. Heading off to some small beach town with a fishing rod and a smile, he left me the agency. Apex Digital. I called it now. We weren't in that dusty old office anymore. We had a sleek space downtown. Glass walls. 10 employees bussing around. laptops open, designing websites, running marketing campaigns. We even had a waiting list for new clients. Can you believe it? Me? The girl who slept in her car. I was respected. I was successful. Not rich. Maybe. But comfortable. Secure. Built entirely by my own hands. My own brain. And I wasn't alone anymore. I had William. He was an architect. Steady and calm. He designed beautiful, solid things that lasted. He knew I had a complicated past. Some kind of major family fallout. But he never pushed for details. Just accepted it. Accepted me. We'd been together almost 2 years. Life was good. Quietly. Surprisingly good. And then the phone rang, smashed the quiet all to pieces. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was in my office, looking over the wireframe design for a new client's website. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hometown area code. My stomach did a weird little flip. I almost ignored it. Old habit. But I answered. Hello? This is Arya. Professional voice. Calm. Silence on the other end for a beat. Then a voice I hadn't heard in over a decade. A voice I thought I'd completely buried. Arya, it's Levi. My blood went cold. Literally. Like ice water flooding my veins. Levi. My ex-fiancé. The boy who hung up on me while I sobbed into a payphone. Levi. I said. My voice was flat. How did you get this number? I got it from an old mutual friend. Please don't hang up. He rushed out. Arya, I am so sorry. I saw the news. Oh God. Arya, I'm so incredibly sorry. My throat closed up tight. What news? What are you talking about? My hand was gripping the edge of my desk. Knuckles white. It's Jackson, he said. And his voice was shaking now. He's been arrested. For fraud. Embezzlement. A whole list of things. I leaned against my desk. Suddenly dizzy. Okay. Karma. Maybe. What does that have to do with me? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Arya. He confessed. Levi stammered. To everything. He confessed to framing you. All those years ago. 12 years ago. I didn't say anything. I couldn't breathe. The air just wouldn't go in. Levi kept talking. The words tumbling out in a rush. Like he needed to get them out before I hung up. His new business partner? Apparently. A woman named Naomi. He tried to frame her for embezzling money from their company. Used the exact same method he used on you. Falsified logs. Planting evidence that she had a gambling addiction. He took a shaky breath, but she didn't just roll over. She fought back. Hard. Hired a forensic accountant. Lawyers. The investigation uncovered a pattern. It all unraveled. He admitted it all. Levi repeated, his voice thick with emotion. He stole the $50,000 from your parents' safe, used it to fund his first successful business. You know, the one Mark and Susan have been bragging about in the local paper for the last decade. My name was cleared. Just like that. After 12 years of living under that shadow. Cleared. Arya, are you there? Please say something. Levi sounded desperate now. I hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't feel relief. Or anger. Or anything. I just sank. Slid right out of my chair onto the floor. I sat there. Leaning against the cool metal leg of my desk, I stared at the wood grain on my office door, tracing the patterns with my eyes. And I said nothing. For a very, very long time. That night, William found me in our living room. I was just standing by the big window, staring out at the city, lights twinkling below. I hadn't moved in hours. Just numb. Frozen. He knew something was wrong. I'd managed to tell him. In a flat monotone voice. About the call from Levi. About Jackson. About being cleared. He didn't try to hug me right away. Didn't offer empty platitudes like, everything happens for a reason. He just looked at me. His eyes full of concern. Then he walked quietly into the dining room. I heard him scrape a chair across the floor. He came back carrying one of our simple wooden dining chairs. He placed it carefully in the middle of the living room rug, right in front of me. "They're not here. Arya," he said, his voice so gentle, it almost broke me. "Mark and Susan, they're not here." He tapped the smooth, empty back of the chair. "But say it." I looked at him, confused. "Say it anyway," he urged softly. "Say what you really feel. Let it out." I stared at the empty chair. It represented Mark. It represented Susan, the parents who chose their golden child over me, the people who threw me away without a second thought. I whispered at first, the words barely audible. "You threw me away." My voice cracked. A single tear finally escaped, hot on my cheek. "You let him. You chose to believe him over me." And then something inside me just broke, shattered. The dam I'd spent 12 years building crumbled into dust. 12 years of rage. 12 years of swallowed pain. 12 years of silence. It came roaring out of me like a physical force. I screamed at that empty chair. "You let him," I shrieked. The sound raw, tearing my throat. It wasn't even words anymore. Just pure animal pain. I slept in my car for weeks. I starved. I lost Levi. I lost my name. You called the cops on me, your own daughter. You broke me. I pounded my fists against my own legs, not even feeling it. I sobbed. Huge, racking sobs that shook my whole body. I unloaded every ounce of pain I'd carried for 12 years. Every cold night spent terrified in a parking lot. Every job rejection. Every time I'd accidentally seen their smiling family photos online. Jackson beaming. Mark and Susan looking so proud. Every single humiliation. Every single tear I hadn't let myself cry. I screamed until my voice was gone. Until my throat was raw. And then I just collapsed onto the rug, weeping. Just utterly spent. William was there. He knelt beside me, pulled me into his arms, and just held me while I cried myself empty. For the first time in 12 years, I grieved for the girl I used to be, for the life that was stolen, and then it was over. The storm had passed. The numbness was gone. The grief from the night before, that raw, primal scream at the empty chair, had washed through me and left quiet. A cold, quiet calm. I'd had my catharsis. The screaming was done. Now, it was time for the reckoning. It started exactly 1 week after Levi's call. My assistant buzzed my office intercom. Her voice sounded hesitant. "Arya, there's a Susan here to see you. She says she's your mother." My heart didn't even jump. Interesting. He just felt still. "Send her in, please." I stood up from my desk as the door opened. She walked in, and I barely recognized her. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older. The vibrant, commanding woman who ran the family corporation was gone. This woman looked frail. Her shoulders slumped, her eyes holding a desperate plea. The power she once held over me, that suffocating weight of disapproval, it was just gone. "Arya," she whispered. Her hands were shaking. She was holding a white envelope, a cashier's check visible through the little window. I don't know what to say. "Hello? Susan?" She flinched, just slightly. When I used her first name, "Good. It's the money," she said, pushing the envelope towards me, across my desk, like it was a peace offering. The $50,000. We calculated the interest. 12 years worth. We didn't know. "Arya, we swear we didn't know." "You didn't want to know," I said. My voice was calm. Even not angry. Just factual. Like stating the sky is blue. You had a choice that night. You could have asked me. You could have looked at your son. The one you knew lied about smaller things all the time. But you chose the easy answer. The one that fit your perfect family narrative. You chose him. Please, she cried, the tears finally starting, spilling down her wrinkled cheeks. I want my daughter back. I'm your mother. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Maybe for the first time, without the filter of needing her approval. No, I said, gently pushing the check back across the desk towards her. You're the woman who called the police on her 18-year-old daughter. The woman who handed me a duffel bag with 3 shirts and told me never to call again. I leaned forward slightly. The screaming I needed to do, the grief I needed to feel, I did that last week. Susan, in my own living room. I'm done now. I stood up straighter. I don't need your money. I built this. I gestured around my office. The proof of my own success, without it. I need you to leave. She stared at me, her mouth slightly open, tears streaming. She was looking for the broken, desperate teenager she'd thrown away 12 years ago. But that girl wasn't here anymore. Not even a trace. She fumbled with the check, turned, and walked out of my office without another word. The door clicked shut behind her. I felt nothing, just quiet. Mark showed up 2 days later. He didn't bother with the lobby. He just barged right into my office, his face red, radiating anger. He didn't come with apologies. He came with demands. Your mother hasn't stopped crying since she saw you, he boomed, standing over my desk like he still owned me. How can you be so cold, so ungrateful? We made a mistake, a terrible mistake. Yes, but your family. Damn it. I didn't even stand up this time. I just leaned back in my chair and looked at him, calmly. A mistake, Mark, I said, keeping my voice level, is forgetting a birthday. A mistake is spilling coffee on important papers. You held a staged intervention, accusing me of felony theft and drug addiction based on flimsy lies from your son. You called the police on me. You ruined my engagement. You disowned me. You left me homeless and penniless at 18. I paused, letting the words hang in the air. That is not a mistake. That is a choice. A series of choices. He was our son, he sputtered, his face getting redder. Our real son. It was complicated. You have to understand. Yes, I said, and I think I might have actually smiled then. A small, cold smile. He was your real son, and I wasn't. Thank you for finally making that crystal clear. I pointed towards the door. Get out of my office. Arya. He took a step closer, trying to loom over me. Get out, I repeated, my voice still quiet, but now edged with steel. Don't come back. Ever. He stared at me for a long moment, breathing hard, probably realizing he had absolutely no power here anymore. The rage in his eyes flickered, replaced by something that looked like confusion. Defeat. He turned abruptly and stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the glass. The silence that followed felt clean. Final. My final why. The last piece of the puzzle clicked into place. A few weeks later, I met with Naomi's lawyer, Jackson's second victim. I was giving a formal statement for her civil suit against him. I had access to the case files, Jackson's confession, Naomi's detailed testimony, the forensic accountant's reports. I sat in my office late that night, reading through it all, seeing his cold, calculated actions laid bare on paper, the meticulous planning, the complete lack of remorse. Even in his confession, just annoyance that he got caught, and I finally, truly, understood the monster I had grown up calling my brother. Reading those files, it all snapped into focus. I always thought Jackson was just the golden child, spoiled, maybe a little jealous, acting out. But this wasn't just sibling rivalry gone wrong. It was darker. Muhdaka. The therapist's words came back to me. Malignant narcissism. He needed that image. He needed to be seen as perfect, as the successful heir, the brilliant businessman. He had zero empathy, and he was willing to utterly destroy anyone. Me, Naomi, anyone who threatened that fragile illusion, without a second thought. He didn't just steal $50,000 because he needed the money. He stole my entire life, my future, my name, to finance his perfect, fabricated image, and my parents. Looking back, reading those documents, I saw it clearly now. They weren't just fooled by a cunning lie. They were his first and most loyal enablers. They needed his perfection just as much as he did, to prop up their own perfect family facade. They didn't want to see the truth, because it would have shattered their world too. Understanding that, it didn't lessen the pain of what they did, but it put it in its place. It wasn't about my worth. It was about their pathology, his and theirs. And that knowledge, that was its own kind of power, the final lock clicking into place. Months passed. Life settled into a new kind of quiet. Real quiet. And not the tense silence I'd lived with for 12 years. The lawsuit Naomi filed against Jackson, the one I'd given testimony for, was settled. He was in prison now. Fraud? Embezzlement, the list was long. Mark and Susan, apparently, had sold their big house and their struggling consultancy. The perfect family brand had imploded spectacularly in their small town once the truth came out. They'd moved away somewhere. I didn't know where. Didn't care. Life was good. William and I bought a house just outside the city. It wasn't huge, but it had big windows that let in lots of light, and a small backyard where I was attempting to grow tomatoes. It was ours. Every floorboard, every nail, paid for by work I had done, value I had created. Peace. It felt strange, foreign almost, but good. Then, one night, my phone buzzed. Sitting on the kitchen counter while William and I were making dinner, an unknown number, hometown area code again. My stomach didn't even clench this time. Progress. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, the little notification icon popped up. New message. Curiosity? Maybe. Or just needing to close the final door. I picked up the phone and pressed play. Holding it to my ear, a voice started, weak and rattling, barely recognizable, like dry leaves skittering on pavement. Arya, please. It was Susan. The doctors. It's cancer. Stage 4. They say I don't have long. Her breath hitched. A dry, ragged sound. I just want to see you. Please. Arya. I just want to see my daughter one last time. Please. The message ended with a choked sob. Then silence. Click. I stood there in my new, bright kitchen, the smell of garlic and roasting vegetables in the air, just staring at the phone screen. William came over, wiping his hands on a towel. He saw my face. Who was that? He asked gently. Susan. I said. My voice was quiet. Steady. She's sick. Terminal cancer. She said. She wants to see me. He didn't say anything right away. He just wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. His presence solid and warm. He didn't tell me what I should do, what was right or wrong. He just waited, held me. I leaned back against him. Closing my eyes for a moment, I thought about the 18-year-old girl, freezing, in the backseat of her car, tasting the salt from her own tears mixed with cheap gas station coffee. I thought about Gregory, his gruff kindness, the unexpected warmth of that humming server room that became my first real sanctuary. I thought about the empty chair in our living room, and the raw, ragged screams that had finally ripped out 12 years of buried pain and set me free. I thought about the cold, quiet, unshakable strength I had built inside myself, piece by piece, line by code by line, day by painstaking day. Something they hadn't given me, something they couldn't touch, something they couldn't take away. She made her choice 12 years ago, standing in that sterile police station lobby, handing me a duffel bag, like I was trash to be taken out. Now, I was making mine, standing here, in the life I built. I opened my eyes, lifted the phone, looked at the voicemail icon, sitting there. That last, Despérate plea. I took a slow, deep breath, and I pressed delete. They didn't just want me back. I realized, not really. They wanted absolution. They wanted forgiveness to make themselves feel better before the end. They wanted me to close their ledger, wipe away their guilt. But my ledger, the one I started keeping in that dusty back room all those years ago, the one where every small win, every act of self-reliance was an entry. It's finally balanced, closed. On my terms, I'm not their identified patient anymore. I'm not their project, or their scapegoat, or their discarded mistake. I'm just me, Arya, finally free. 2 story. 2, my name is Sarah. I'm 38, and I'm a pediatric nurse. A single mom living in Charlotte. A week before Thanksgiving, my dad, Michael, called. His voice was flat, like he'd practiced the words. Sarah, he said, it's just not the right time for you and the kids to come to Asheville this year. I froze, my hand gripping the phone. Your mother? He went on. She's just too overwhelmed right now. I didn't say anything. I just stared at the piece of paper on my kitchen desk. It was an invoice from a roofing contractor for $25,000. And right at the bottom, in big red letters, was the stamp paid in full. Overwhelmed. My mom, Jennifer, hadn't been overwhelmed 3 months ago when she called me hysterical. The roof was leaking. Again, the old farmhouse in Asheville was beautiful, but it was falling apart, and they never had the money. The contractor says the rot is getting into the joists. Sarah, she'd cried, it's going to be $25,000. We just don't have it. I looked at my own budget. As a pediatric nurse, I do okay. But as a single mom in Charlotte, there's never anything left over. I'll handle it. Mom, I said, my stomach twisting. Don't worry. I'll figure it out. Oh, you're a lifesaver. Sarah, your brother Ryan, he's just so busy with his startup. He doesn't have a dime. So, I figured it out. I picked up every double shift I could. I worked weekends, holidays, nights. My feet ached. My back was a permanent knot of stress. I felt like I was sleepwalking through my own life for 6 months, fueled by stale hospital coffee and the guilt of not seeing my own kids. When the overtime wasn't enough, I did the one thing I promised myself I'd never do. I went to the bank and cashed in the savings bonds my grandmother had left me. The ones she'd earmarked for me, for a rainy day. This felt less like a rainy day, and more like a permanent storm I was funding. I paid the contractor directly, $25,000, every cent. My plan was to drive up to Asheville for Thanksgiving. My kids, Sophia and Liam, were so excited. They missed their grandparents. During dinner, I was going to hand my parents an envelope. Inside would just be that final invoice, the one stamped paid in full. I imagined my dad's relief, my mom's tears of gratitude. I imagined, just for a second, feeling seen. But now, I was standing in my kitchen, my heart thudding, a sick, heavy beat. I had to walk into the living room, where my 9-year-old daughter, Sophia, was reading a book, and my 7-year-old son, Liam, was building a Lego tower. I had to force a smile and tell them, hey guys, I have some bad news. It looks like we can't go to Grandma and Grandpa's for Thanksgiving this year. Sophia's head snapped up, her face confused. Why is Grandma sick? No, sweetie, she's just feeling a little overwhelmed, and the house is too crowded. Liam, my sweet, sensitive 7-year-old, I just looked up at me, his eyes wide with that childhood fear that everything bad is somehow his fault. His lip trembled. Are we in trouble? Mommy? He asked. His voice, so small, it barely made a sound. And that one question just broke me. It felt like a knife, twisting right in my chest. On Thanksgiving Day, I tried. I really did. I bought a small turkey for just the three of us in our tiny Charlotte apartment. I let Sophia and Liam help me make mashed potatoes, which mostly meant they made a floury mess and giggled. We watched the parade on TV, and I pointed out the big floats, my voice sounding artificially bright. I told them we'd make our own traditions, that this was special, just us. They seemed to buy it, but they were quiet, too quiet. That evening, after they were finally asleep, I sat on my couch in the dark, the silence of the apartment feeling heavy. I opened my phone, my thumb hovering over the social media app. I knew I shouldn't. I knew it would only hurt, but I did it anyway. It was the first thing I saw. My brother's new girlfriend had tagged my mom, Jennifer, in a dozen photos. There they all were. All of them, in my parents' warm, cozy dining room in Asheville. The one with the big oak table. Mom, Dad, my brother, Ryan, holding a glass of wine, looking successful in a new sweater. His new girlfriend, who I'd never even met. They were all smiling, laughing. The table was groaning with food. So thankful for our beautiful family. The caption read. My blood ran cold. My throat tightened. And then I saw it. In the second photo, my mother, Jennifer, was sitting in her armchair, beaming. And on her lap, nestled in her arms, wearing a tiny red bow, was a puppy. A brand new, purebred, $4,000 French bulldog. My hand started to shake. A $4,000 dog was welcome. My mom, who was too overwhelmed for her own grandchildren, had room for a puppy. I'd been working double shifts at the hospital, my feet bleeding, to pay for a roof over their heads. My brother, who hadn't paid one of their bills in his life, was celebrated for bringing home a trophy dog. I sank back into the couch, the phone hot in my hand. This wasn't just favoritism. This was something else. This was the story of my entire life. I finally understood that in some families, especially families with a parent like my mother, it isn't about love. It's about roles. I've heard the psychology terms for it before, but now I was living it. The scapegoat and the golden child. I was the scapegoat. I was the reliable one. The nurse. The fixer. I existed to carry the family's burdens, my sacrifices. Like the $25,000 roof, were never seen as gifts. They were just my function. My help was an expectation. My sacrifice invisible. My brother, Ryan, was the golden child. He carried the family's hopes. He was the startup founder, a title that always sounded impressive, but as far as I could tell, meant he was always pre-revenue and always needing a loan. But it didn't matter. His failures were excused. His presence was a gift. My success, my career, my ability to pay my own bills, my ability to pay theirs, it was almost a threat. It proved the system was wrong. But Ryan, with his flashy promises and his designer dog, he fit the image my mother wanted to project. That puppy was a status symbol. My children, real, noisy, and needing attention, were not. They weren't overwhelmed. They just preferred a trophy to a burden. I looked at the picture of that little dog on my mom's lap one more time, and I realized I wasn't just angry. I was done. 2 days later, there was a knock on my apartment door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened it, and my dad, Michael, was standing there. He looked awkward, his eyes darting past me into my apartment, probably looking for a mess he could judge. Your mother is just beside herself. Sarah, he started. No, hello. No, how are you? Just the accusation. She's been crying for 2 days. When are you going to get over this and call her? I just looked at him. I wasn't the angry, shaking person I'd been on Thanksgiving. I was cold. I was a block of ice. Get over what? Dad, the fact that you lied to me. He flinched. We didn't lie. Your mother was just... It was too much. Right. I pulled out my phone and opened the picture, the one of my mother, Jennifer, smiling, with the $4,000 French bulldog on her lap. I held the phone up so he could see it. You had room for a $4,000 trophy puppy. Michael, I said, my voice quiet but shaking with a new kind of strength. But you didn't have room for your 9-year-old and 7-year-old grandchildren. My children. His face went pale. He looked down, just like he always does. He started to fidget. Sarah, you know how your mother gets. She gets an idea in her head. That was his one move. The enabler's classic defense. Blame the narcissist. But do nothing to stop her. I know exactly how she gets. Dad, I said. I held up my hand. And I'm done. I'm canceling the roof. His head snapped up. His eyes were wide. The confusion on his face was replaced by a dawning belle aurore. He finally understood. This wasn't a tantrum. He could wait out. This was a consequence. You can't, he stammered. The contracts. The deposit. Go home. Dad. I walked to my door and held it open. Go back to Asheville. He looked at me, his mouth opening and closing, but no sound came out. He saw the look on my face and he just left. He shuffled out the door. A weak, defeated man. The second I closed it, my hands were shaking, but not with fear. With adrenaline, I walked to my kitchen, picked up my phone, and called the roofing company. A man answered. I explained that I needed to stop all work and cancel the contract. Effective immediately. Ma'am, he said. Confused. You've paid for most of the materials. We're scheduled to start Monday. I understand, I said, my voice steady. I need to cancel. There was a long sigh on the other end of the line. Okay. Well, as per the contract you signed, you understand you'll be forfeiting the deposit and a cancellation fee. Let me see. It's a $5,000 fee. My stomach dropped. $5,000. That was my entire emergency fund. The money I'd kept liquid in case one of the kids got sick. Or the car broke down. It was a crippling amount. My first instinct, the old good daughter instinct, was to cave. To say, oh, never mind. That's too much. But then I thought of that puppy. I thought of my son's face. Are we in trouble? Mommy. I took a deep breath. I understand. Please send me the final invoice for the cancellation. I'll pay it today. I hung up the phone, and in that moment, I understood something. For the good child, the one who is trained to always say yes, the one who is the fixer, the first no is the most terrifying and most powerful moment of their life. We're taught that setting a boundary is an act of aggression, that it's selfish, but it's not. It's an act of self-preservation. That $5,000 wasn't a loss. It wasn't a fine. It was a purchase. It was the price of my freedom. It was the first payment I had ever, in my entire 38 years, made to myself. An hour later, my phone exploded. It didn't just buzz. It vibrated so hard on the counter, it sounded like an alarm. A flood of notifications. My mom, Jennifer, hadn't just called me. She hadn't texted me. She had gone public. She had posted in the Asheville Community Facebook group, a public forum with thousands of members. It was a long, tearful novel of a post. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. She wrote about how, with a heavy heart, she had to share her pain. How her own daughter, me, had selfishly refused to help her and my father after their roof was destroyed by storms. She painted a picture of two elderly people on a fixed income, terrified in their leaking, cold home. She never mentioned the $25,000 I'd already paid. She made it sound like I'd done nothing. The post ended with, "We don't know what we did to deserve a daughter who would put her elderly parents' health at risk." All out of spite. Please pray for us. My cheeks burned. I felt sick. My hands were white-knuckled on my phone. And the comments? The comments were a fresh wave of humiliation. Her friends, Lisa and Melissa, were the first to pile on. Jennifer, this is heartbreaking. I always knew Sarah was a stubborn one. That's just heartless. Jennifer, you and Michael don't deserve this. Strangers were chiming in, calling me ungrateful and selfish. She had twisted my sacrifice into a weapon to make me the villain. I wanted to scream. I wanted to type a reply, listing every bill I'd paid, every double shift I'd worked. I wanted to post the picture of the $4,000 dog. But I stopped. I knew it was useless. They would just twist it again. Instead, I opened my email. I found the new invoice from the roofer. The one that clearly showed contract cancellation fee $5,000. I took a screenshot. I opened my family group chat. It was silent. I attached the photo. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then I typed one sentence. My gift to myself. Do not contact me again. I hit send. And the group chat went dead silent. A week passed. The family chat remained a digital graveyard. The post on the Asheville community page was eventually taken down by moderators after, I suspect, the roofing company saw it. But the damage was done. I'd heard through the grapevine that my parents' friends, Lisa and Melissa, were telling everyone I had stolen money from my parents for a roof that was never even started. The lie had taken root. I was in a strange, cold quiet. I wasn't waiting for an apology. I wasn't waiting for anything. I was just numb. Then, a certified letter arrived. It was a thick, formal envelope. My name and address were typed, but the return address from Asheville was in my mother's sharp, unmistakable handwriting. I had to sign for it. My hands were steady as I took the pen from the mail carrier. I put the kids in front of the TV with a snack and went to the kitchen counter. I opened it. It wasn't a letter. It was a legal document, a few pages, stapled together, full of dense legal text. But I didn't need to read the whole thing to understand it. The title on the first page said it all. It was an official amendment to my parents' will. I, Sarah, and my issue, which meant Sophia and Liam, were being formally and permanently removed from all inheritance. Tucked into the fold of the last page was a small note on my mom's flowery stationery. Just one sentence in her perfect, looping script. You've made your choice, Sarah. So have we? This was it. The final move. The checkmate. They were cutting us out, not just from their lives, but from our family history, wiping us off the map. I stood there, at my counter, holding the papers. I should have been devastated. I should have been crying. But I just felt cold. It was the last thread, and they had cut it themselves. It was an act of such finality, deliberate cruelty, that it didn't break my heart. It just hardened it. I folded the papers. I walked into the living room. Sophia, Liam, go put your shoes on. We're going for a drive. Where are we going? Sophia asked, not looking up from her show. To see Grandpa Robert. I packed the kids into the car. I put the legal papers in my purse, along with the screenshot of the $5,000 fee and my mom's Facebook post. I buckled Sophia and Liam in, and I started the drive to Asheville. But I didn't drive to the big farmhouse. I didn't drive to the house with the leaking roof I tried to fix. I drove to the other side of town, to a small, quiet street, to a little brick house with a neat garden. My Grandpa Robert's house. He was my mom's father. A quiet, decent, no-nonsense man who had been a carpenter his whole life. He had always seen me when I'd gotten into nursing school. He'd sent me a check for $500 with a note that said, "You earned this. Don't spend it on your parents." He opened the door, his face creasing into a smile when he saw the kids. "Well, look at this. Get in here. You two." He hugged them, then looked at me, his eyes knowing, "Everything okay? Sarah, Can we talk? Grandpa. He settled the kids in the living room with some old toys he kept in a chest. I followed him to the kitchen. It smelled like coffee and sawdust. He poured me a cup. Talk, he said. I sat at his small kitchen table. I pulled the papers from my purse. I couldn't even look at them. I just pushed them across the table, and then I told him everything. I told him about the years of paying their bills, the emergency plumber in July, the power bill last winter. I told him about my mom's panicked call, and the $25,000 I'd paid for the roof, how I'd worked double shifts for 6 months and cashed in my grandmother's bonds. I told him about the phone call. Not the right time. Too overwhelmed. I told him about the Thanksgiving photos. My voice cracked when I said it. He had a new girlfriend there. Grandpa. And a puppy, a $4,000 puppy, was sitting on Mom's lap. But they didn't have room for Sophia and Liam. I told him about my dad's visit. The weak excuses. I told him about the public Facebook post. How my mom had painted me as a monster to the entire town. I told him about the $5,000 cancellation fee. And then, I just tapped the legal papers on the table. And that, I said, my voice hollow, arrived today. They've disinherited me. They've disinherited my children. I finally looked up, my eyes burning, expecting to see him shocked. But he wasn't. He was just looking at the papers, his face dark. His jaw set so tight it looked like it was carved from wood. He finished his coffee in one gulp, and then he said 2 words that changed everything. I know. I must have looked confused, because he sighed and leaned forward. I said, I know. Sarah, I know about the roof. My heart hammered. What? What do you mean, I just told you? You did, he said, his voice rumbling with a low anger I hadn't heard in years. But you weren't the first. A man came to see me last week. Jim Anderson. Owns that big roofing company. My mind raced. The roofer. Jim and I go way back, Robert said, his eyes hard. We're in the same Bible study. He came to my house, looked troubled, said he had something on his conscience. He asked me if everything was okay with my daughter, Jennifer. Grandpa. Robert shook his head, his disgust clear. Jim told me the whole story. Told me how a nurse from Charlotte, his own granddaughter, had paid $25,000 in full for a new roof on her parents' house. And then, not a week later, she calls him Fiancé to cancel the whole thing. Said she was willing to lose $5,000 just to stop the job. He looked right at me. Jim's no fool. He said he'd heard talk around town. Something about a party, and he put 2 and 2 together. He said, Robert, it's not my business. But it felt wrong. It felt like she was being punished, and that $5,000 was the price. He just wanted me to know. I let out a breath I didn't even know I was holding. I felt a strange, stinging relief. Someone else knew. Someone else saw it. I didn't want to believe it. Sarah, he said, his voice hoarse. My own daughter. Capable of that. But I've seen how she is with you. How she's always been with Ryan. I was hoping I was wrong. He pushed the legal papers, the disinheritance letter, back toward me, across the table. And then you show up with this filth. This just proves it. She's not just cruel. She's a liar. And she's a fool. He stood up. I walked over to the old rotary phone he still kept on the wall, and picked it up. He started dialing. Grandpa, what are you doing? I'm calling my lawyer, he said. I'm not looking at me. He's a good man. Works on Saturdays. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. It was Robert. His voice was steady. Calm. It's done. Sarah, he said. Done. What's done? The will, he said. I met with my lawyer. I had it rewritten. It's ironclad. Your mother, Jennifer, and your brother, Ryan, are both explicitly and permanently written out. my house, this land, my savings. It's all being placed into a trust for you, and for Sophia, and for Liam. It's yours. I sank down onto my couch, my legs weak. I couldn't speak. It wasn't triumph I felt. It wasn't joy. It was a deep, heavy, seismic shift. It was the sound of a toxic world finally breaking apart. "Grandpa," I whispered, my voice catching. "Don't you say a word," he said, his tone firm but kind. "You've been paying your whole life. Sarah, it's time someone paid you back. You and those kids are all that matters. You're my blood. You're my family. Don't you forget it?" He hung up. It took less than a day for the backlash. The nuclear fallout. My phone lit up. A furious text from my mom's friend. "Lisa, you've finally done it. Sarah, you've torn this family apart just to get your hands on an old man's money. You're sick." Then Melissa, "Your grandfather is an old man. He doesn't know what he's doing. You manipulative, greedy. What you've done to your mother is unforgivable." Then my brother, Ryan, "For the first time in a year, you're going to fix this. You're going to call him and fix this right now." I read the words, Lisa's, Melissa's, Ryan's. They were just noise. The desperate, ugly screams of a system that had just lost its scapegoat. And its power. I opened my contacts. I found Lisa and hit block. I found Melissa and hit block. I went to my brother Ryan's name. I pictured him with his new dog, laughing at that Thanksgiving table. I hit block. I found my dad, Michael, the enabler, the man who stood by and watched. I hit block. And finally, I found my mother, Jennifer. I looked at her name, and for the first time in my life, I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, no love, just nothing. I pressed the button. Block contact. The silence that followed was the first real peace I'd felt in 38 years. After I'd blocked them all, a strange quiet settled over my life. It felt like the air after a violent thunderstorm. Clean, sharp, and new. I sat at my desk a few days later, looking at my bank account. There was still $5,000 in my savings. The money I'd earmarked for my parents' next big emergency, probably their property taxes. I'd held on to it, like one last, frayed rope, connecting me to them. After everything, the lies, the public shaming, the disinheritance of my children, the ultimate validation from my grandfather, I realized I owed them nothing. But I owed myself this one last act. I logged into my banking app. I typed out a transfer to my mother's account, $5,000. In the memo line, I wrote a simple note. "This is the last thing I owe you." My finger hesitated over the send button. My chest tight, not with sadness, but with finality. Then I pressed it. I watched the balance drop. It wasn't about the money. It was about closing the door. Forever. The story ends 1 year later. It's Thanksgiving. My apartment in Charlotte is warm. And it smells like cinnamon and roasting pumpkin. My daughter, Sophia, is standing on a chair, her face smudged with flour, meticulously crimping the edge of a pie crust. Liam is laughing, smearing pumpkin, filling on his cheeks, insisting he's helping. We're a mess. The kitchen is covered in flour, but we're laughing. We're peaceful. It's not a big, fancy house. It's not a perfect, curated family photo. It's just ours. Looking back, I learned something so important. We're all taught that blood is everything. That family is a bond you can't break, no matter how much it hurts you. But I don't believe that anymore. True family isn't about blood. It's not an obligation. It's about respect. It's about safety. It's about who shows up and sees you. My grandfather, the roofer, who told the truth. They were my family in that moment, protecting my children, and protecting my own peace meant having the courage to let go of the family that was hurting us. I had to stop trying to earn a seat at a table I was never invited to. I realized I could build my own. I didn't lose a family. I just freed one. My own,